Generally, it's one of our goals to find places where we can really help users to spend their time on the things that is enjoyable, that brings value, and try to have the LLM take over tasks that are tedious or are repetitive.
Hi, my name is Madilynn Castillo, and this is Humans in the Loop, Tulip's series on the people behind our AI capabilities. And today I have two of my colleagues with me. Nan, why don't you start introducing yourself?
Yeah. My name is Zhao, and I work on all AI related and try to help customers to create value quickly with AI. Before coming to Tulip, I did a PhD at MIT around physiological sensing, and that's where I worked much on the AI and understanding signals that come from our bodies through wearables to control environments, to help people to be more energy efficient, but also to help the buildings to be healthier on us by understanding their impact. And I'm excited to be here at Human in the Loop because that has always been a big topic for me, to understand how to synthesize signals for human or to make the environment better controllable to humans.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. And then Robin, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Robin Pauli. As Nan said, we do everything integrating with AI and LLMs. And before coming to Tulip, I worked as a neuroscientist. I did a PhD in neuroscience and physics. And I was mostly working on analyzing signals and breaking down complex patterns into something that is human understandable. And I use then those skills working in predictive maintenance, so helping make sense of complex signals that come from machines, vibration, temperature, magnetic field, and break it down for an operator so they know which machines need maintenance and which they can just let running, which is also how I met Nan. We initially worked together on this here at Tulip. Now we do very similar topics with LLMs and other AI features, allowing people to analyze their data, arrange all the important information.
Our team's focus is to have AI assist the user to achieve a goal that they set, to understand through natural language what the user wants to do, and translate that into software solutions for the user.
Okay.
We're also doing research and development that are discovering how to best use these technologies because they are quite new and there is still much to learn. And we want to help our customers to discover that with us and to put them on the right path for success.
What are some of the things you all are considering or have been thinking about specific to operations or operational domains when designing AI features?
Yeah, some core topics that we're thinking about is the different roles that would want to interact with AI, supporting their day-to-day tasks. So it could be someone that is an author within Tulip that analyzes data, so looking at creating data analytics quickly. But it could also be an operator that needs information, but that person would be in a different environment, have a different interface. So we're thinking about these features and how we design them for these different personas.
And how are the needs of, whether it's operators or other people in manufacturing, different than those might be in other domains?
Yeah, I think they have a challenging job that's very diverse, right? Like there are many different tasks that they have to accomplish, and from case to case, it's different. Also, for them, it's very important for the result to be traceable, understandable, and editable in some cases, right? For example, in data analytics, we allow users to really inspect the analytics that it's being generated and make edits on their own that they would like with a traditional no-code user interface that Tulip has. For operator chat, for example, we allow them to inspect the references that the AI uses so they can be really certain where the information comes from and be confident operating on it.
It's really critical that there aren't hallucinations and that they can double check that. I guess like human in the loop, not to be redundant about it, is designed into the way that the features work.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, human in the loop is a very important part that we think about a lot. And how do we make it easy for them to understand the information that the LLM gives back and be part of the decision making? Yeah.
So a lot of companies now have some sort of AI chat functionality. What is unique about the way that we're approaching that in the platform from maybe like a bolt-on solution or standalone solution?
A lot of chatbots that other companies have are purely informative. And in Tulip, they are integrated in the platform. So it can't just read the data, but it can create analyses for you. And you can then use them within the platform. And it's not just something that's purely stuck in a chatbot, but these elements can be distributed throughout the platform.
Can you talk a little bit more about that kind of combination of the way the data is contextualized in the platform and also the creation piece that's possible in Tulip because of the way the platform is structured and the data is structured?
So we have our own data storage in our Tulip instances that the customer works in. And every step in the manufacturing process creates some data that is stored and manipulated within the application. And we can create analyses that analyze the data and display the data that you can see in dashboards, but they can also be used in an application to control the flow of the process.
I see. So there's like this combination of being able to gain insights and create based on the way that the data in the platform is structured.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can add to this that LLMs generally come with a lot of knowledge, like out of the box, out of the shelf, but we are enriching it with Tulip-specific knowledge that is in the manufacturing domain and also information that our customers want to enrich the system with. So it creates a more customized solution for them that gives them access to their specific data.
I'd love to ask a follow-up on that because there's a lot of conversation now with the LLMs, like search there on context and the importance of context and also the control of context. Can you talk a little bit about how we think about like our customers' data as context and also what they can choose to upload separate from what's already collected in Tulip?
Yeah, so in Tulip, we have this idea of tables. That is one way for customers to upload information. And our feature can read in various types of documents because sometimes customers have the data in a structured way in a CSV, or they could have it handwritten in a document. So we kind of deal with like this diversity of different inputs that you can upload to the table, and the LLM can interpret it and use that as context for answering questions, for example.
In addition to the table, what other types of content could customers choose to kind of upload?
Other contexts that they could use are just generally information that the app generates that gets stored, in this case also in a table format, but yeah, the LLM can use that to create insights, statistical analysis, for example, of their defects or real-time information that can even be displayed on a dashboard, for example.
So one of the things that people mention as being really cool is like the ability to ask a question in one language in the chat and get an answer, natural language back. Can you talk a little bit about how that type of capability like works and what it unlocks maybe for manufacturers?
One example would be a company that has multiple different production lines in different countries. And then the operators in a specific country would, for instance, in Italy, they would enter their problems and resolutions to that machine in Italian. And one in the US would have it in English. But then both operators could search it in natural language. So one feature we also have is just directly translating it. So whenever something's entered, you have a second column that is the same thing, but in English. And then every time someone enters something, it gets auto-translated. So it's much easier to have connected workforce in multi-language setups.
So the functionality is designed to work with a lot of different types of frontline users and engineers. Can you talk through how you thought about the different folks that would use the functionality and how it differs between the different features?
Mostly there's like one person building things and other people who actually use the applications. And they have very different needs. That's also something that you can see everywhere in Tulip. The editing experience of Tulip is very different from the user of Tulip. And we build tailored experiences for the different applications. So some of the chat functionalities has different requirements when it's in an app. We need to be careful that the authoring person can edit permissions and make sure that people only have the information that they need and not a blank permission that they can access anything. Likewise, for the authoring person, it's important that, for instance, our documentation, we have a lot of documentation in our knowledge base and in our support articles And as someone coming new to Tulip, it's important that you can quickly find the information that helps you build applications in Tulip.
For the authoring person, I think it's important that we integrate also tightly with the existing authoring experience so that the chat experience is already part of their workflow. It's not a disruption to what they are doing today, but nicely integrates into their work process, and that they can seamlessly also transition from using the chat to the UI interface that they are already used to complete their work or like to make manual improvements. Sometimes it's faster to use a chat interface to do something, and sometimes it's faster to still use the UI. So they have the choice to do that.
Okay. So when you guys are designing capabilities, it's for a variety of different types of manufacturers. That could be biopharmaceutical or tool manufacturers. How do you make sure that you're incorporating their diverse needs into the product?
In manufacturing, in general, compliance is very important, auditability, traceability. And the strongest needs for this usually come from pharma and from life sciences. So if we build a new feature, we have their needs in mind. And then that already takes care for most of the other customers. So if you have a customer that has the strongest compliance needs and you fulfill that, then there's no need to build specific cases for the different needs of various departments in manufacturing.
You both have backgrounds in AI, and generative AI is like a type, or maybe most recent popular type, but there's different types of AI both in the world and also in the platform. Can you talk a little bit about how AI in Tulip has been used to help manufacturers and kind of the focus or value area that we try to get them out of this technology?
Yeah, there are various domains of AI that I have worked with over the time. I mean, we both have a background in machine monitoring or understanding machine health, warning the user on time about things that happen. We also worked on time series analysis to predict certain patterns in the data. LLM enables a whole new field of possibilities, and previously these models require quite structured data, one could say, right? Like they are specialized, they expect a certain type of input to generate a very specific output. For example, is this an error or it's not an error, like a classification. But with LLM, the boundaries are so vast, right? Like you can enable all sorts of application with the same model, all through natural language and by providing the right context to the LLM. This is very exciting because it not only enables interaction with data, but also with users, because now users can describe what they need through natural language. And so it comes very naturally to them to interact with this technology. Whereas like before, we had to kind of translate many things to the user of what is training, how to collect training data sets, and how do you evaluate model. Whereas right now, it just feels much more natural to interact with LLMs.
Maybe to add on to this, like a good example, I think, is if we had a customer that, for instance, does injection molding, it's relatively easy to to distinguish specific defects. Like, something could be broken, something could be bent. This is something that an LLM could very easily detect. And in previous project, what you would have to do is record hundreds, if not thousands of images, have some subject matter expert label them, then train the model, then deploy the model, somehow work it into the software. And now most of this can basically be taken care of by a prompt where you describe if something has a hole in it, mark it as defect hole. If something's bent, mark it as defect bent. And suddenly this project doesn't take months or weeks, but more like a day.
Are there other ways that generative AI or AI features are getting rid of low value or repetitive work?
This is not really generative, but OCRs for sure. There was one of the first features we built. Relatively simple object character recognition feature that you can build into your app, which can take care of, for instance, when a supplier comes in, they usually have some kind of form where it says like how many units is it, and if you want to enter this into your inventory, the only thing you need to do now is put it in front of a webcam, take a picture. In the app, you can say which kind of fields do I want to pull off, something like you probably don't care about the price as someone as the person who tries to build the process for the further manufacturing, but you just want to know how many pieces is it of what type, and you can feed it into the inventory, and you can get rid of some of the work that's not particularly valuable.
Yeah, generally it's one of our goals to find places where we can really help users to spend their time on the things that is enjoyable, that brings value, and try to have the LLM take over tasks that are tedious or are repetitive. So there are some great examples using OCR, but also by accelerating the user by understanding what they need and creating analytics really quickly, for example, where we want to help user to be faster.
What are some of the challenges or scale opportunities you see in the team now that you're working through?
Yeah, I'm personally very excited that AI is finally breaking out of a silo in some ways. We are already connecting it with the data within Tulip, with customers, apps that collect information, but there are so many different ways of how this network of LLM agents possibly will grow, and there's just so many things that could be bringing value to the user by through automation, also through better understanding using AI.
So one thing that is pretty exciting for me is if we allow people to upload documents, one can, for instance, upload a new data model that one developed in a workshop with colleagues. And with an LLM, it's relatively simple to tell it to, if you give it the right tools, to build you a database that supports this. So what used to take a lot of annoying work where you have to click on specific columns, select the data types, create the next table, link the columns to each other. Now this is something that can happen within seconds, basically. So a lot of the grunt work where you just have to, it's not difficult, you just have to do it and it takes some time.
Yeah.
We can filter out a lot of this, I think, with an improved editing experience.
Excellent. Well, thank you both for doing this with me.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a pleasure.